Today we're going to dive into a horror movie that was not loved when released, to now being a defining moment in all of horror. From the chilling, haunting score to the terrifying scenes that played out on screen, today we're talking about The Omen was produced at a time when society was fascinated, yet fearful, of the supernatural and occult themes. The Exorcist had shocked audiences just a few years prior, and studios were eager to capture a similar audience. Eventual producer of The Omen, Harvey Bernhard, was told a story by his friend, Robert Munger, that the Antichrist might be walking the earth in the form of a child, unknown to the vast majority of humanity. He had read a book called The Late Great Planet Earth, which is the end-time prophecies in the Bible with then-current events in an attempt to predict the future. As soon as he left Munger, Bernhard got in touch with screenwriter pal David Seltzer, who was hired immediately to write the screenplay. It took Seltzer a year to come up with the first draft, but once this was done, it was considered by Warner Brothers, but the project stalled and didn't go anywhere. It wasn't until Vice President of Creative Affairs at 20th Century Fox, Alan Ladd Jr., optioned it. Ladd Jr. was just coming into his own at 20th Century Fox, as he had just optioned a small science fiction movie for the studio. That movie was, of course, Star Wars. Moving forward, Richard Donner was hired to direct the movie when a challenge of the minds took place. This was in regards to how the script should be interpreted by the audience. Donner wanted the movie to be left ambiguous and wanted the audience to decide whether Damien was in fact the Antichrist or the series of violent deaths were just unfortunate accidents, while David Seltzer wanted the movie to leave no doubt that Damien was the Antichrist. Seltzer won. If you haven't seen The Omen, or if you just can't remember it, here's a quick recap of the plot. The Omen begins with American diplomat Robert Thorne, whose wife Catherine has just given birth to a stillborn baby. At the hospital, he's persuaded to adopt an orphan new boy to spare his wife the heartbreak. They name the child Damien. As Damien grows up, strange and deadly occurrences start happening around him. Soon, Thorne suspects that his adopted son might be the Antichrist, as a series of supernatural and horrifying events unfold. The film explores Thorne's desperate journey to uncover the truth about his son, leading to some of the most famous horror scenes in cinema. The build-up, combined with an eerie atmosphere and shocking deaths, make for a suspenseful and terrifying experience. Casting for The Omen was key to this movie's success. Gregory Peck, a legendary Hollywood figure, played the role of Robert Thorne, adding a sense of gravitas and credibility that grounded the terrifying plot. Peck got wind of the movie through his agent, who was friends with producer Bernhard. After reading the script, he reportedly liked the idea that it was more of a psychological thriller rather than a straight-up horror film, and agreed to star in it. According to reports, though, there was a number of other actors who were considered for the role of Ambassador Thorne. Here is a quick rundown of who was considered for the role: Oliver Reed, William Holden, Charlton Heston, Roy Scheider, Dick Van Dyke, and Charles Bronson. Dick Van Dyke actually turned down the role because of the violence and gore, which he would later call his decision stupid. One issue that Peck did have, though, was the props and special effects used to create the death scenes, as he thought they were going to be exploitative and turn the movie into a gory horror film. When seeing the final cut, Peck was relieved and happy that they were restrained. For the role of the Antichrist, Damien, over 500 boys auditioned for the role. Donner encouraged the boys to attack him in a group audition, which 4-year-old Harvey Spencer Stevens clawed at Donner's face and also kicked him in the groin. This is what got him the role. Filming began on October 6, 1975, and lasted for 11 weeks. The majority of the filming took place in the United Kingdom and on location in Jerusalem and Rome. For those who have seen the movie, a famous scene takes place where Catherine and Damien's car are attacked by baboons. When first filmed, the baboons didn't attack the car, even after zoo staff members didn't feed them the night before, so they would swoop onto the car for food that was placed around it. They also had a zoo official sit in the car with a baby baboon. This didn't elicit the response that they were looking for, so a new idea was thought up. The zoo official swapped out the baby for the alpha. When the cameras started rolling, the cow was ferociously attacked by the group of baboons. According to Donna, Lee Remick's terror during this filming is authentic. When talking about movies from the 60s through to the late 80s that has the central characters from hell, there is always stories about the productions being cursed. Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, Twilight Zone the movie, and even Poltergeist all had supposed curses on them, and bad things happened on set and to the cast and crew. The Omen was no different. Gregory Peck and screenwriter David Seltzer both took separate planes to the UK for the start of filming. Both planes were struck by lightning. While filming in Rome, producer Harvey Bernhard was nearly struck by lightning himself, with it just missing him by a few feet. Another incident that happened in Rome was that the Rottweilers that were hired for the film attacked their trainers. But out of all the incidents, two stand out amongst them all. Gregory Peck cancelled a flight to Israel due to unforeseen circumstances, but the plane he was supposed to travel on crashed and killed everyone on board. Special effects artist John Richardson, who came up with the death sequences, was injured on his next movie, A Bridge Too Far, where the accident also sadly took the life of his girlfriend, Liz Moore, who was decapitated. A story is being told about the aftermath of this incident, where Richardson, dazed and confused after the accident, noticed a signpost pointing to the nearby town of Omen, which is 20 kilometers away. But a kilometer marker where the accident happened indicated a distance of 66.6 kilometers. This story has never been verified, but it does add a strong sense of a curse. The Omen released on June 25, 1976, following a successful marketing campaign inspired by Jaws a year prior. The movie was a huge success and earned a worldwide total of $106.3 million on a budget of $2.8 million. Even though the movie was a commercial success, the critics were far from kind. Gene Shalit called the movie a piece of junk. Newsweek called it a dumb and largely dull movie. The New York Times, Variety, and noted film critics Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel all called the movie goofy and a dreadfully silly movie, but they all gave praise towards how tight and well-paced the movie was. Tom Shales of the Washington Post declared that the movie, the classiest Exorcist copy yet, but as a summer thriller, it can hardly challenge the human appeal and exhilarating impact of last year's Jaws. Seltzer, busy justifying his baloney premise with biblical quotations, forgetting about narrative logic or empathetic characters. One aspect of the movie which was praised beyond belief is the movie's soundtrack and score by Jerry Goldsmith. The music for the movie is so haunting and had an indispensable contribution to the success of the movie. It made the impact of certain scenes that much more powerful. The score was so good, in fact, it won the Oscar for Best Original Score, resulting in Jerry Goldsmith's only Oscar win. So what makes The Omen so enduring? Part of it is the film's commitment to grounding the supernatural in everyday life, making it feel almost plausible. Unlike many horror films, it doesn't rely on jump scares, but instead builds dread and unease. For horror fans, The Omen offers a chilling experience that stays with you long after the credits roll. The combination of stellar acting, gripping story, and haunting music makes it a masterpiece that horror fans will likely continue to revisit. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of The Omen below in the comments. Is its legacy overhyped? Is it one of your favourite? Let us know down below, folks. Until next time, stay critical, stay scared.